Welcome back to another episode of this thing we're calling the Alone Weekly Update. I am your host, Rick, and this is my lovely co-host, Gabby. Say hi, Gabby.
Hi.
And the word for today is crazy. Today, we're going to talk about crazy. What do you think? Can you make a crazy face? Can you make a crazy sound?
Yeah.
Incredible. I prefer this crazy sound, actually. We're going to be hearing more of that during this episode. But that's right, we're going to talk about crazy today. We've just wrapped up episode 2 of Alone, season 7, aka the $1 Million Challenge. And in just 2 episodes, just 2 short episodes, we are already down by 2 people. We only have 8 crazy contestants left. So far, the animal carnage has not receded. That's right, we have seen another poor porcupine turned inside out, and lots of fish guts. Yum! So, we've been introduced to 4 brand new contestants this week. That's right, 4. Most of them just as earmuffs. Just as batshit crazy as the people from last week. You can take your earmuffs off now, but apparently she already did. So yes, just as crazy as the people from last week. And we actually saw the return of one person from last week, which means we covered 5 contestants this week. That's pretty interesting. So let's get right to it, shall we? Let's see. We got to see our resident madman, Roland, once again. Not much craziness from Roland this week, apart from the fact that we got to see the early phases of construction of his rock house. Something we've never seen before. We've seen plenty of elaborate log cabins built in previous seasons, but we've never seen somebody make a shelter completely out of rock. And that means this guy's pretty crazy. Especially seeing him heft around these huge rocks to build the walls of his shelter. And then he used full-size trees, these giant logs, to make the roof. He's pretty much out of his mind. And he did all that on an ant diet. Not to mention the fact that the guy's 47 years old, all right? I just turned 44, and I think I pulled a few things watching him push some of those things around. So we'll keep a close eye on him. Then we met Mark, another maniac. This guy looks super tough, and he clearly knows what he's doing. But just like Joe from last week, this guy also tried to chase down a bear. He even talked about bumping a bear. I still cannot figure out exactly what that means, but I have to tell you, I am dying to find out. The one downside about Mark is that he's ex-military, as we discovered in this last episode, and that's a huge problem for Mark. If the show has taught us anything, if previous episodes have taught us anything, it's that these military folks have a tendency to just quit for absolutely no reason other than, well, I accomplished my goal. I did what I set out here to do. There's nothing left for me here. I've proved to myself that I'm able to do this, and yada, 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 blah, 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 blah. Really, the fact is they just get bored. So there it is, my 4th prediction right there. I am actually going to predict that Mark will take the soldier's way out, and he will quit the show for absolutely no good reason. Mark that down. But in the meantime, I do enjoy this guy. Again, he wants to bump a bear, so gotta love him for that. Just as a reminder, actually, to put things in even more perspective about my topic of tonight, which is crazy. Talking more about bears. Looking back at season 2, there were actually 2 bear encounters in season 2 that resulted in people going home. If you think about it, if you think back, there was a man lady who had a bear come sniffing around her shelter in the middle of the night one night, and that was it. Next morning, boop, hit the button, I'm out of here, get me out of here. And even worse than that, in episode 1, in the very first episode, on the very first day, there was a guy who hit the button and tapped out because he saw, wait for it, bear poop. I'll say that again. Bear poop. Not a bear. Didn't see a bear. Just a poop. So, that should just go to show you how these contestants have evolved since then. And by evolved, I mean developed some serious solid brass cojones. And speaking of brass cojones, Callie! This woman wanted to follow a pack of wolves. Yes, that's her right there. Thank you. I'm going to say that again. She wanted to follow a pack of wolves. Just nuts. She does seem to know her stuff, though, right? I mean, she's certainly good at shooting porcupines in their sleep. But my one concern about her is that she can't make up her damn mind about her shelter. Okay, you're good. If she just would pick a place to build a shelter, she'd have a shelter by now. But the fact that it's been 12 days and she's barely got a shelter built, that could be a problem. Then we saw Amos, him. Not much craziness from him. Although he does have a nice gill net that seems to be working for him, which is good. However, I do want to point one thing out about Amos that he did say in his little intro interview. He did say that the money doesn't matter to him. To somebody who's making predictions, that's a bit of a red flag to me. Now, okay, I get it. Anybody who is involved in a competition where there's $1 million on the line and they say the money doesn't matter to them, they're lying, right? But the fact of the matter is he did say that. So prediction number 5 coming from me right now. I am predicting that Amos will not win. And finally.
You're
funny. And finally, we were introduced to Corey. A guy who not only has no wife and no kids, but he said he's had a bow and arrow in his hand since he was a child. And on top of that, he makes and sells bows for a living. This guy was very, very, very high on my list of people who could possibly win the show. Also ex-military, but we can forgive him for that. I'm sure his military experience has prepared him for this endeavor. However, it seems the one thing he did not learn during his tenure in the military was how to look where he's stepping in unfamiliar territory while carrying a massive log on his shoulder. I mean, come on, man! There's $1 million on the line here! Think, McFly! Think! What? $1 million! So alas, poor Corey made that critical and, might I say, careless mistake and ended up tearing the meniscus in his once already surgically repaired knee, and therefore taking him out of the competition on day 12. So sorry, Corey, and so sorry, Dave. That was Dave's unfortunate draw pick. And at this time, I'm afraid I just cannot resist taking you all on a little trip down memory lane and remind you of this guy. His name is Tim. And he was from season 6. He was also Dave's unfortunate pick of the draw. He was the first person to tap out in the first episode after only 4 days, due to, and can I get a drum roll please, a knee injury. Dave, what is going on? This is twice now. You should have predicted that unfortunate coincidence. Might have costed you some points. So unfortunately, we have to say goodbye to Corey after just 1 episode of screen time. But in all fairness, Corey did leave us with this final visual gem. You're welcome, ladies. So that brings Dave and Brett down to 1 contestant left each. Sorry, boys. It's going to be a tight match going on here. Here's the score sheet. Once again, everyone is holding on to a solid A rating after the first 12 days. Feel free to pause this and look at it if you'd like, but I'll also be sending it to each of you through email. Also, here are my updated predictions. I now have 5 of them going strong for your enjoyment and hopefully your inspiration to come up with some predictions of your own. Again, send them to me however you'd like, and I will be sure to include them in the next weekly update. So, until then, that's it for this week's episode. So we're going to say goodbye. Say goodbye.
Bye.
And remember, porcupine lives matter.
Enjoy your night.